We have Dr. Dana Celesi here. We have the Commissioner of Police, Darren Simons, here, and the Honorable Minister of National Security, Michael Weeks. Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Good night.
All right. Look,
listening audience.
This is going to be very engaging, dear people. These gentlemen have been on the community circuit, I'm going to say. The community circuit. They've taken the issues of gun violence, crime, but also solutions. Bermuda's national security to the people. And it's been, having listened to some of the positive feedback and great attendance, by the way,
Yes.
Which says that the public is on board with this issue and looking to be solution builders and being of support. We're going to get right into this. And let me just say, listening audience, how we do it on all fronts here. We have 1 hour of conversation with these gentlemen, right? And at the top of the hour, we'll engage you, the listening audience, and those of you who are courageous enough to call in and ask the questions. And tonight I will be very, very disciplined that you ask questions. I will not entertain long dissertation defenses and positions, but what solutions do you have we want to listen to? What solutions do you have? We want to listen to those solutions. But please, what questions do you have of our guests here tonight? Commissioner of Police Darren Simons and the Honorable Minister Michael Weeks, National Security. Let me just begin with Honorable Minister. This falls under your portfolio of national security. Certainly, you've been at the forefront in addressing these issues. When you reflect upon, and I'll ask the Commissioner the same question also, his perspective, just some key takeaways for you of the 3 town halls that you had on the subject matter.
I'd like to start off by telling you good night again, and thanks for having me. And good night to the listening public. That's an interesting question as to what my takeaways were. I'd like to start off with the intent of having the town hall meetings. I've been at the forefront, as you have said, trying to arrest or address the violent crime that the island's facing. And so often I used to hear about involving the public. So I decided to reach out to the commissioner, and we collectively sought the governor. So the 3 of us came up with the idea of a town hall meeting, a series of 3, Central, Eastern, and Western. One of the takeaways I got, man, it really warmed my heart and impressed me because of the turnout. Because I was wondering how it was going to be received by the public. But the public showing up showed me that the public is involved in the safety and security of our country. So what I took away, each town hall, it got more engaging. The first one was more about venting and people being angry. But by the time it got to the Eastern and the Western town halls, people were more solution-oriented, talking about what we saw, and it was less finger-pointing. It was more, what can we do as a country? So a lot of the input I found very useful, as far as what can we do as a country, what can we do individually, what can we do in our families, what can we do as a government. So I tried to listen to all of that. We took copious notes. We're going to collate them, and we're going to have a ministerial statement on Friday, and perhaps a wider statement for the public soon after.
Beautiful, beautiful. Commissioner, from your perspective as Commissioner of Police,
I think for me, again, I want to, well, first of all, good evening to your listening audience also. I want to echo the minister's comments about being pleased about the turnout. Clearly, there's some, concern in the community, some care. People are putting energy and time in to think about this. One of the things that I think was particularly impactful to me is that overall, the theme, the community understood that the issues that we're facing have their roots deeper in society, and that the answers to the issues that we see as challenging do not lie solely in law enforcement, although law enforcement is a key part of what needs to be done to continue to make Bermuda safer. But when we look at, or when the community was sort of commenting on what they thought the fundamental changes needed to occur in order for meaningful difference to be made, what wasn't as vociferously presented as it has been in years gone by was that law enforcement is the answer to this problem. But clearly, there was a recognition and understanding that there's a role there. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think that was genuinely impactful, because for a number of years, the Bermuda police have been saying, listen, we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. And that, law enforcement is what the law enforcement entities and agencies do. So to have the community a bit reflect back and understanding that, some of the issues that need to be addressed are beyond law enforcement, or not just, or outside the scope of law enforcement, and lie in some places maybe like education, economic access to the economy, societal fabric, child rearing, was encouraging to see. Because if you are always suggesting a solution that is actually not going to solve a problem, you've got no hope of ever solving the problem. Correct. So I think for me, that was just genuinely encouraging.
Well, as encouraging as it is, I mean, we're to address the gun arena. That's what the play on words that I had for tonight's show, the gun arena.
Yeah, I saw the flyer.
Yes. Is amnesty the cure? And I like for you, Commissioner, just to, when we talk about this amnesty, and I know in the town hall you have been very detailed in terms of the type of weaponry that this amnesty is asking for the public to give up. Mm-hmm. But certainly we want people to give up the guns that are out there. Now, just elaborate for us in terms of when we talk about this amnesty, and I'm trying to say this to keep the positive spin on it, because to ask people, the hard criminal, as most amnesties go, many don't give up their guns, not the hard criminal. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that you don't do and have an amnesty. So recognizing this, that we're not anticipating, well, we hope, that some of the hardcore will give up their guns.
So I think there's an opportunity to provide a little bit of clarity before we get too far down a path. Number one, this amnesty is really around the weapons. So in every one of the public, when I say weapons, bladed articles.
Bladed, okay.
Right? And so in every one of the town halls, I showed a graph which showed that the amount of incidents around bladed articles are just, they're like skyrocketing. It's when you look at a graph that's just going up, it's going in a direction and a rate that we're not happy with, right? We don't want as a community. And also, because of that, we have made some amendments, or we are making some amendments to the prohibited weapons list. So there are 11 articles on the prohibited weapon list. We're going to be adding a further 8. So the amnesty really was, hey, before, you couldn't really carry these things out in public lawfully, but you could possess them. They could be at home. Now they can't even be at home. So you cannot possess them in any way, shape, or form. You can't import them. You can't sell them, be concerned in sales, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes eminent sense to me to offer the community a chance to hand in what is in the future become unlawful. Right, and in that process, we're just hopeful that, or we welcome the opportunity that any sort of bladed article or weapon can be handed in. There is also, people can call the police station, and any one of the police numbers, 211, would be a great one, and just say, I have a firearm that I wish to hand in, and there's a process around for that. But the amnesty is not about firearms very specifically. We've got 6 locations out there, and the only place we could reasonably accept a firearm is at a police station. The inherent safety around that. And in the past, we have done amnesties, gun amnesties, if you'd like, and we've recovered a number of weapons. And I think your point is valid. In that, a hardened criminal is probably not likely for free, for no reward, to hand over a weapon. But that doesn't mean that we don't give the law-abiding community the opportunity to hand in items that are going to become illegal in the future. Mm-hmm. So that's the main. It's not the answer, and it shouldn't be touted as. We've never, Minister. We've never touted it as the answer. We've just. Right. It's one of the steps in a path that we're going down, and. Not only will there be a weapon amnesty, but in the schools in particular, the Bermuda Police in the new year will have some engagement around youth, around this whole notion of carrying weapons, because there's a lot of people that are carrying knives for their personal protection. So it's not just people with the intent on doing harm, but it's also people with, particularly, young people, young adults, who are genuinely fearful and see this as an appropriate, answer to their concerns.
Right.
So yeah, the amnesty is not about firearms and specifically. It's about bladed articles, and particularly, any bladed article, quite frankly. But there's a number of things that are now going to become prohibited by the governor's order. And it's an opportunity for people to hand those in before they come unlawful. That just makes sense to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I may, I'd like to add that I agree with you, Commissioner, but we must also stress that the amnesty is not designed to solve all the crime.
Yeah.
And not only the gangster carries knives, there's a lot of people that's on the periphery. It gives them to say, something, I have the opportunity now to get rid of this article, and I may have a friend that may have something. So it's really a responsibility of us as the community to reach out to each other and say, hey, this is an opportunity now for us to get rid of these articles. Mm-hmm. So now, for anyone that thinks that this is going to solve the crime, no. There's a lot of pieces to it. And I think further down in the show, I think you're going to talk about tinted visors.
Yeah.
All those little pieces are going to be designed to help us make the country safer. So when it comes to this amnesty, we have seen an increase over the last, I think, 6 or 7 years of knife crime, going from a few a year, probably in 2018, 2019, to now upwards of 100 now in 2023, 2024. So it just makes sense, eminent sense to say, okay, let's try our best to get these bladed articles off our streets.
Listen to the two of you share this, and it had me thinking of, we heard about conceal and carry. And Commissioner, you mentioned, even if it's in your home.
Yeah, for prohibited weapons.
And prohibited weapons. And I'm dating myself. I think this is my 3rd amnesty in Bermuda. Because I remember amnesty in the 70s.
Okay, then
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I having a father who did have weapons, and what he did, he answered the amnesty. They asked to turn him in. Well, he just shipped them overboard.
Right.
Yeah, the old boys, they just shipped them overboard.
Yeah.
And in 2003, we had then, and to where we are now.
Yeah.
And this may not be the last time. And you're right, it brings up the whole issue of deterrence. But we have to dig into this here in terms of disrupting. I look at the amnesty as a disruptor. to methods of the types of crimes that we have.
Yeah.
Which has me thinking and asking this, and you're right, it's not just about guns. And I have an interest in guns for a different reason, and following the pattern, and I've been itching to ask this question. When I look at 2009 guns used to where we are now, I look at the escalation, the elevation of the type of gun that's being used. I'm asking the question, 9mm is being touted, was touted. You hear, or what is it, 0.48 or something like that there.
45.
Shotgun, 45, right? When you shared, Commissioner, in the last horrific murder that we had on the block, that weapon used 13 times.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Are you at liberty? And I'm curious in terms of the type of weapons that are being used, the type of guns that are being used.
Yeah, overwhelmingly the firearm caliber that is used is 9mm.
9mm, yeah. And it brings into question for me, you pointed out, and Minister, you are certainly well aware, look, and I think you place it in context in the town hall, I think, with great clarity when we're talking about our gangs.
Yep.
Because our gangs are our young black males, number one.
Killing our own.
Killing our own. These are our boys, our sons, our uncles, our children, all of that. And you're right, which places a different type of, but this is in-house. This is all an in-house thing. And while many of us
in the context of a very small community, right,
in that context and in this very small community, and I was going here and saying, for the great majority of people, we might say, "Oh, that's not my relative."
Well,
but while it may not be my relative, I make the argument with people, no, it's not your relative, but you and I are not far removed from the relationship.
I was just going to say that, because we are all related.
We are all,
Those that are the victims and the perpetrators.
Exactly.
And unlike other countries, whereas a lot of the gangs and gang members are imported, further down south to our Caribbean brothers and sisters, a lot of them are from outside gangs coming in. But like you said, I want to stress that here in Bermuda, because of where we are, it's all in-house.
Yeah.
People that may have gone to school together in primary school, by the time they become young adults, they're on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So almost always, people are shooting and killing people that they know.
Or are related to.
Or
are related to. Which brings, again, for me, this is the uniqueness, I'd say, of Bermuda. The interrelatedness of us in this. All of us in this. And you have been very passionate in saying and speaking to, no, this isn't just for the police to deal with. This isn't just for the Ministry of National Security to deal with. This is for all of us. And I think this reality speaks to the fact that, no, it is all of us. And given that it's all of us, regionally, this is having me ask the question, I think, and with clarity, Commissioner, you identify how many gangs in Bermuda?
About 11 active gangs.
11 active gangs. 9, and I look at 11 active gangs.
And about 200 members. I mean,
Right.
That's not associates, hangers-on, or
Right.
more of the, if you like, harder core, clearly identified as associating with a particular gang.
Local base.
Yes.
Right? Take that, and I was sharing with Commissioner earlier in terms of algorithm, the algorithm of violence, the algorithm of gun violence. And you take that, the mathematics of that, 200. You and I know with 200, there's a relationship of mine in that 200.
Oh, with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
You get me?
We can't avoid that.
Even if that relationship of mine, that relative, let me put it that way, that relative of mine is a relative who I do not daily engage or so forth, I know that's my relative.
Yes.
Right? So 200. And so I'm curious in terms of this is getting at increasing the police service, which is something that's in effect right now, right? How do we begin to, I look at our 21 square mile island, 9 parishes, visually 200. There's a concentration of gang activity right now.
Yep.
It's island-wide, but there's a concentration. And concentration of it appears to be more in our densely populated Pembroke Parish. Let's be real.
Centrally.
Centrally. We can go Pembroke, Devonshire. Yeah.
Right.
Centrally. When I look at that and then the web and interconnectedness that helps to, how do we begin to rein this in? With your 300, well, we're going to increase our police force.
Yeah, 376.
With our 376 that we're looking to add 100 to, correct?
Well, maybe not 100.
Or
I'm not sure the minister,
trying to
but we'll get up to 420.
Well, okay.
Look, see.
400 plus.
Yeah.
Some external outside help that we need.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the main help, Lou, Doc, must come from inside because, like you're saying, how we are 200. In that 200, each one of us sitting here now could say one of their 200 is a relative of ours, and closer than a third or fourth relative, somebody
That's
closer
right.
to us. So this is where I've always been saying that it's more than a police issue. Our community clubs, our sporting clubs, our churches, all those organizations, our private entities, all of those organizations has a role to play. And I've said it over and over, and others have said it over and over. If you see something, say something. Once we all stand up and speak up.
Right.
Because one of the things that I've seen since I've been sitting in this chair, a lot of these gangsters, or so-called gangsters, are not homeless. They are not destitute, so they are being housed somewhere. Somebody knows who they are. So it's time for us to say, okay, let's not police ourselves out of this because we can't.
Right.
You know, we can't. And we know who we are talking about. These are not strangers. We said it earlier in your show that the perpetrator and the victim are all ingrown.
Yeah.
You know?
And
so we know who they are.
We know, who they are. And in this demographic that we're talking about, and in the interrelationship of us, it is not without also the socio-economic balances or imbalances, meaning how do you begin to look at it through that lens?
So I mean, I think those things are important. One of the points that I think I would really like to make is that you've got the 200 individuals that are at it right today, right? Those group are the harder to reach. And when I say harder to reach, just themselves, because they're involved, they're harder to reach. It's going to take more funding, more intervention to reach those individuals. Here's my concern. So I was the head of intelligence in 2010. And what I can absolutely tell you that the people that were the hardcore engaged individuals back in 2010 are not the people we're looking at in 2025,
no.
Right? We've had an evolution. So those 100 or so, their reality is they're either left the jurisdiction, they're either deceased, or they're either in Westgate, and in a small number of cases, they may have begun to age out of this type of activity.
Yeah.
What I'm grateful for in terms of the violence reduction strategy is just focusing some energy and effort on the younger people that we can divert from that, or just put in pathways, opportunities, so they don't become the third iteration of that gang lifestyle. And I think that is the best opportunity that the community has when we're talking about young people. We're talking about families in trouble with or having some challenges, educational challenges, economic challenges, in that 0 to 8 years of age, that we really need to make sure that we stop or do all that we can to minimize the likelihood of 30, 40, 50 of them becoming the next iteration of gang members. The challenge of dealing with an individual who is deeply involved in a gang, maybe already done some violent activity, there's just so much energy and effort around diverting that person from that lifestyle. It's really hard. There's a lot of energy and effort, and I think our efforts need to be primarily put in terms of societal changes at the younger generation and stopping that next generation from following that path. And if today we only have 200, how many families are we talking about? How many youths are we talking about diverting? It's not beyond Bermuda's capacity to put programs that are catching young people before they fall through these nets and are making poor choices. And the teachers in schools, they see them 6, maybe not 6, 8, 9, 10. They know that here are children at risk. And I think the violence reduction strategy focuses some significant amount of energy and effort at that population.
The prevention.
But you're revealing something, and Minister, given your constituency, when I look at the Fritzl Hill community, I say community.
Yes.
Right? And I mean that for what it is that goes forward to the late Honorable Minister Nelson Boscom's era, to which you have taken on and continued that legacy. These are families who we know. Now, when we say the 200, when we say 11 gangs, these are people who we know. These are not foreigners. These are people who we know. And so when we say we know them, we know education background, we know socioeconomic status, we know who owns a home, who doesn't own a home, right? We know who has been on subsistence, right? We know these things, and we know the pattern of reproduction, meaning generationally. Look, I keep it real.
Yeah.
We can call, and I won't call names here, but we can call names you and I know. I could run all family names, and
that once you heard your name, you can't.
Folk out there will say, "Oh yeah, that family, yeah, that's their history." Oh, so and so's in prison, but we know the family cultural reproduction. We know the legacies, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I'm saying, when we know this, as we look to put into place, as we are doing, with, yes, the amnesty, with, yes, increasing service, police service, yes, with programs that we have, there is an opportunity. And I think I heard you say it, Minister, in part of your presentation. We know that with employment, and it is a fact. Yes. I want the people to understand that what you cited is a fact. With employment, there's decrease in violence.
Yes.
And not just, that's anywhere, right?
Access to the economy.
Access to the economy. And yes, we know that on the totem pole or in the pyramid, young black males are really on the bottom scale, right? Even educationally, which says we have much more to do to intercept, to lay out. Yes, we have gang reduction, but we certainly have to do more to reach that demographic so that they themselves are not caught in a financial curse through illicit drugs, but we provided opportunity for them for re-education, re-employment, right? To begin to deviate, just as you said, when they reach a certain age. No, most of those guys, life hits you and says, I need, it's too late, or I got to do something different.
Yeah, so my question is, what happens in the life of an 8-year-old that in the next, well, let's take it a little order. What happens in the life of a 10-year-old that, 6 years later, they've significantly gone off the rails? Because there's no I'm not going to say there's no, but there's got to be very, very, very few 8 and 10-year-olds that grow up thinking I want to be a gang member. Like that's not high on the list. And I'm not saying that some of the social pieces can't play into some of that psyche, social media, the glorification of gang lifestyle. But the overwhelming vast majority of these young people, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's not where their minds are at. But something happens in some of their minds that causes that change in trajectory.
They don't want to, but because I'm closer to that age demographic and it comes across my desk, it comes to me, I know that some bear witness to. We have that 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old who bears witness to an adult action and behavior that grooms him or her.
I was just going to say that because
that grooms him or her.
That young person, and I know you see what we see. We see it from a law enforcement point of view, me from a government point of view, but the educator, you guys see him front and center.
Yeah.
And a lot of those 8, 9-year-olds, in all our households, a lot of our children act on what they see.
Absolutely.
And like you were saying earlier, sometimes you can see generationally how people are going to grow and choices they're going to make unless we stir them a different way. And in our violence reduction strategy, it's heavy on prevention. Education is a main piece of our violence reduction strategy. Education, societal, sports even. Like we're trying to look at ways of how we could catch that little youngster, that 6, 7, 8-year-old. Because as you say in the hood that is my constituency, Frisco, St. Monica's and whatnot, at the height of the murders, it was right in my constituency, literally.
Yeah.
About 10 or 15 of those that were murdered. Right
on your doorstep.
Right on my doorstep.
Yeah.
It really wiped out the 4-2 gang. Because when we were younger, before Parkside and Frontline and all this, it was 42nd.
Yeah.
And from about 2009 to 2012, 13, that demographic pretty well got wiped out. But what we don't talk about a lot of times, almost all those men were fathers who have sons, who had sons that were coming along, and some have a chip on their shoulder, some are still in the same environment. So this is where education plays a big part. And in our violence reduction strategy, education is a major factor. And we're trying to do it in such a way that the enforcement piece comes at the end of the spectrum.
Or it doesn't come at all.
Or doesn't come at all. Doesn't come at all.
Yeah. Sorry, can I ask you a quick? Because
sure.
I got the impression that you thought there were more, or from your experience, there are more 8, 9, 10-year-olds than that may glorify or might be positively thinking about gang lifestyle than maybe I might. I'm not an educator. I'm not in the schools, but I just got the sense that as you were looking at me and responding to my comments, that hey, there may be more people, more young people that see that lifestyle positively, then maybe I might not know. And I'm just genuinely.
It's probably not so much that you might not know. It's a different lens.
Yeah.
And the lens that I look at it, you see, when I engage young people, and when I say I engage them directly or indirectly in observing them, you see, media is powerful.
Right.
Very powerful. And I had a group of young folk on probably a month ago, 2 months ago, about a month ago. Boys, young boys, girls. And it was interesting, the conversation with them in terms, these were teenagers, by the way.
Right.
These were teenagers. But what they shared with me was a lens into even what younger peers do. And the power of media on them, right, that's shaping behavior. I'm not saying they want to become,
Right.
but the power of that media is shaping behavior. And they're in a language that maybe as adults, we interpret it differently. Unless you are working and engaged and around young people all the time, you may miss it. So I look at and listen to their behaviors in relationship to viewership. I brought up about the algorithms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify.
So you're saying that influence is maybe more powerful or just as powerful as all the other societal.
I do. I look at it as just as powerful with our young people.
Well, that's a point
in shaping this.
Point of intervention.
Yeah, and it is a point of intervention. Matter of fact, even having Dr. Daniel, psychologist, on helped to reveal that in terms. That's why we have a high number of our young people with mental health concerns. I say mental illness, really. And so with it is that demographic, the 8-9-year-old who, with whatever he or she, but more he,
yeah.
right? And I'll say this, we can't dismiss the she, because many of them, interestingly, if you catch any of the video, the TikTok, the fights, all of that, to me, interrelates with what we're talking about in gang life. And so that's why I, was zeroing in on that 8-9-year-old.
It could be an issue.
Could be.
Yeah.
Male and female.
Male and female.
Yeah.
Male and female. And not only that, it's also, I have a little habit of mine, sometimes on a lunch break, or certainly after school, I like to go by the bus stop. And watch. And you study behaviors. You go and you see the certain characters show up every day. I'm talking about our kids. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is
a warning sign.
This is a warning sign. It's not a judgment.
Right.
It's just an observation and studying the behaviors.
Yep.
And so these are the opportunities for we as adults to be more attuned and look to intervene, but also to know the language that they're speaking. And the power of media with them is a great influencer as a solution.
Yep.
That, we got all the surveillance up, which is necessary. We're going to increase police services and all of that. We will want to give attention to. And I know we got mirrors and other groups that, work with young people, but study that media.
Yeah. So
And
how do we
we
present alternatives? How do we build resistance?
It gets to Commissioner. How do we do it? One, it's about a critical mindset on things, and it's not an exaggeration of this here. We have to teach our young people and adults a critical mindset about what they are viewing and what is fed to them.
And also, I think we have to change the use of the tool.
Yes.
Because when social media started to take a prominent place, parents use it as a babysitting tool.
Yeah.
So now fast forward, we have to try to take that tool away from them and to re-engage our children from a younger age.
Yeah.
Hence, another part of this violence reduction strategy is the getting into the schools earlier, parenting classes, conflict resolution. So there's a lot of emphasis being placed on our youngsters so that by the time they get to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we have given them options.
Sporting.
Yeah.
No,
Sports.
sporting.
Yeah.
Sports.
And
let me just say, callers, you lighten up and you're eager. Be patient. Because we said at the beginning, a straight hour of conversation with us. And at the top of the hour, we entertain and involve you in the dialogue. But I forewarn you, please have questions for our guests. We entertain solutions, but we're not going to entertain a dissertation defense about the subject matter. In other words, you're not going to have 5-6 minutes to argue a point. I just want to say that to the callers. I mean, this is some rich insight into how we begin to break into this or disrupt this. And it was something earlier that had me thinking, of course, the school to prison pipeline. But I think you mentioned it, Commissioner, in terms of when we think in terms of I think you also, Minister Weeks, are incarcerated. I mean, these are many of our who were and now are doing long time.
Yep.
And they're doing long time becoming older men.
And
right?
wiser now.
And wiser.
Yeah.
And wiser. And I want to move to even a solution of what's inside that helps outside. But helps outside to counter and to eradicate. And I know Dennis Brown has some things he's doing with former inmates. They're going into schools. The more of that is needed.
Yes.
Former inmates, guys who were in gangs.
Yep.
And they're saying, hey, look, talking to the young people.
Yep.
And I'll say this here, if it gets at the 8-year-old, 9-year-old, what we observe with that, of course, the relatability that they had with those guys who've lived it. You say, they expect someone like me, myself, yourself, to say what we say.
Yeah.
But when they were listening to, I took a life.
Yeah.
I did time for this, long time. And so they were very much attuned to, this isn't no scared straight type of story, but it was relatable.
It's a real story.
But here's what made it real. This is what made it real. The relatability.
Yes.
They're talking to guys who knew their parents, right?
Yep.
Who knows some of the guys who are gang banging, right? And so when I hear that, Commissioner, that's another solution. That's another methodology for us of using that network to intercept.
And because our community is so small, I'm sorry, a lot of the people who are incarcerated, when they come into our primary schools and talk to the youngsters, not only are they talking to people that they may have known, but they're talking to their own family. Because how we said earlier,
you hit the nail right on the head, man. Yes.
Community, so who better to listen to than somebody can say, hey, but I know you, and because they have been there, they see these signs. Now, a part of our strategy too is to go into the prisons regularly. I have a team that goes into the prisons regularly, talks to those that are rehabilitating and looking to assist in any way that they can. So we're trying to leave no stone unturned in how we address our family issue, because we're one big community family, and how do we do it?
We say that though, Minister. Let me just say, throw this in there, and we are, and especially because having worked and done things in the prison also, and I have a theory And part of the theory that I have, and I've talked to former inmates who've been on this show. And one of the things, when I look at inmates who have their children in our schools, you're doing long time, man. You're doing some long time. And the time that you're doing is time that's lost with your child.
Absolutely.
Who's maybe catching hell in school because everyone knows who your daddy is.
Yeah.
But I mean, not only that, but you would be alive to the fact that ACEs, so one of the adverse childhood experiences is a parent who's been incarcerated.
That's right.
So that's trauma that's just replicated because of the actions of the parent.
And because of and I know Pastor Weeks, Dr. Pastor Weeks, talks about the generational trauma.
Dr. Pastor
Right.
Bean.
Yeah, Bean. I said Weeks. I'm looking at you. Dr. Pastor Bean. Dr. Pastor Bean.
Yes.
Leroy.
Yeah.
Speaks about this in terms of generational trauma. And I think with our men who were former, or I'm just going to say former, because they're in prison now.
Right.
They have an opportunity to break that generational curse. If we, I'm saying we, institutionally we, minister, afford him that opportunity of a re-education that brings some measure of worth, right? That says, with my re-education, I'm doing this job while in prison, and percentage of what I make goes towards my child's fund. Now, that becomes somewhat of a deterrent for that child, gives that child a new hope. Because I can tell you, and Sister Dr. Gina Spence speaks about this frequently in terms of the trauma of those children whose fathers are in prison
Or deceased.
Yep.
All right? Here's this opportunity still while life is in you, making meaning of your life purposeful for your child on the outside that you don't see daily. But if you got some renewal and re-education and reinvest in that, that becomes a reinvestment in your child. I look at those things as also other methodologies that break into those 11 gangs.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that any opportunity, any lever we can pull, to make a difference, and what better than to a life that has been behind bars. Just there's some redemption, some opportunity to give back to the community.
With that brings me, Minister, to legislation.
Right.
Your field. For such things to happen, we need the legislation for that, right? We were talking earlier, a dent in it, but I look at the visors, dark visors. I think there's an amnesty with that. We need to give people the opportunity that by January 1st or January 15th, everyone will have the opportunity to buy a new helmet. And we'll say to the merchants that this is what you must sell now, because we can't contend with the dark visors and dark helmets in robberies, in killings, all right? Terrorism, that's what it is, yeah. And I'm saying we have to ban them.
Well, actually, Doc, I'm glad you raised that because my team is currently in the process of looking at different options of how we can get rid of the dark tinted visor, or at a minimum reduce the visor, the dark tint. Right now,
we do it for cars.
Yes, we do it for cars. So now we're looking at the car legislation, and we're going to try to apply it to the helmet visor. And trust me, we are very close to coming up with a few options, i.e. have a rebate for the store merchant. How do we reimburse them for bringing in their visors? How do we reimburse people that turn their dark helmets in? So we are very much down the road of addressing that issue.
Well, that's like a buyback policy,
It is. It
right?
is. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up because even when we were talking about amnesty of weapons, have we considered even a buyback policy or buyback?
I mean, Crime Stoppers offers
for Crime
rewards,
Stoppers, right.
So that's an avenue that is there, all the time.
Well, I know the rewards are there.
Yeah.
But if we're
Let's talk
talking,
about
but I'm saying if we're talking advisors, if we're talking, but the example that you give with the advisors, even with people who have weapons, for example, and you give them the, let's say the amnesty goes along.
No, but I'm saying for firearms, there you can get a reward. I mean, it's not called buyback, but you're handing in a firearm, and there's an opportunity for a reward.
Okay.
So it's, whether you call that buyback is, it's a matter of a turn of a phrase. But the reality is, there's somebody there's a way that somebody could get compensation for handing in a firearm.
Okay. But I think of financial compensation.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
financial compensation.
Because a reward to me could be lunch.
No, no, cash.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And actually, in saying about financial compensation, the ministry is working with Crime Stoppers to increase the reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction.
And I believe that has helped.
Yeah.
I believe that has helped. I mean, look.
Yeah.
What is it? I see the 50,000 that's out there. No, nah, leave it there.
People are starting to get more engaged in revealing what they knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the top of the hour. We can the listening audience. You've been calling in. We have Commissioner of Police. Darren Simons on board here, and the Honorable Minister Weeks, National Security. We're having some conversations here. The gun arena of, we're addressing not just amnesty as the cure, but we're addressing firearms, all types of weaponry in the message. So we're going to take some of the calls from you. But like I said, what question do you have of our guest? And if you have a perspective on something, be succinct and to the point. I'm not going to allow you to speak for 3-4 minutes and not ask a question. Good night, you and all friends.
Hey, how you doing, you guys?
Doing well, sir.
Interesting show.
Thank you.
Question. I haven't heard it mentioned yet. What you feel about coaches? I've always felt they are a main avenue for, at least pinpointing the kids that are going to be troublesome. And I say that because one thing I've learned as a coach is that you are first hand with the parent almost every time the child comes to be coached, as opposed to the classroom where you may not see that parent every day.
I got you.
And so you get to realize right up front what the child is about, and what they're going to be into and what they ain't going to be into. So, of course, coaches have played a vital role in helping some of these children, but I'm going to tell you, I can admit that some I could see was going to go down the wrong path. And,
Right.
There you go, do your best.
Well, let me have both gentlemen speak to that there, because coaches play a very influential role with many of our young people, boys and girls, and when we talk about the gang reduction and all of that, there, I mean, what's some of the conversation that we're even having with coaches? I know, Minister, we've had many, we had the session at the Hamilton Princess. Mm-hmm. Some coaches were present there. But thanks a lot, caller. Give us a...
Yes, caller, I really appreciate that question and comment.
Please hold, caller. Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
One of the things that we realize in our approach to violence reduction is to get into our community and sporting clubs. And we work closely with our clubs as far as grants for after-school programs and the like, because we know that sports plays a major part, or can play a major part, in steering our young children away from choices of crime.
Right.
So we hold the opportunity to work with our community and sporting clubs high. So we work closely with them financially, grant-wise, and any other kind of way that we can help our sporting and community clubs. As a matter of fact, we are in the process of having another workshop with all our sporting and community clubs, and teach restorative practices, and restorative justice. So the role of the sporting club is not lost on me as to how the role it could play in helping to deter our youngsters.
Commissioner, how does that play out in terms of community policing and the community policing with some of our social clubs?
Right. So I think, police have the Bermuda Police Service has a rich history of involvement in sporting events. In recent times, kind of a bit because of our numbers, has just not been as active as we like to, but definitely as our numbers go up, I think sporting is an opportunity for young people to see police officers in non-offense encounters, having a good time, kicking a ball, rolling up their sleeves, getting sweaty, getting dirty, and playing sports. So that is something that we do, and still something that that we do, and we will be doing more of that as our numbers kind of get a bit higher.
We talked about the programs and the interactivity of the police service with the community. I mean, I was listening to some things that you had shared in terms of that the Bermuda Police Service really, comparatively, I mean, we don't have a deep kill the police mentality.
Oh, thank the good Lord for that. But you're right.
I'm talking about, and I'm saying what's fed to us.
Yeah.
Whether it's the drill music, gangster rap, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Yes, we have persons who have certain disagreements with policemen, but we don't, as a culture, have that type of mentality. That violent mentality.
Yeah. And I think just whilst you're on that, I mean, there's some reasons for that. And over the years, I think, the Bermuda Police Service, compared to other jurisdictions, have very positive relationships with the police. And I say this all the time. If I had $1 for every time that somebody said, we want to see more of you, like, they genuinely welcome the police, I think, by and large, in the community. Not there aren't pockets of dissent, right?
Yeah.
But part of what we enjoy today is a legacy of our past, right?
Yeah.
That has just been carried on for years and years, and long may that continue.
Yeah, I think the police relations have improved since my father's era.
Yeah, but
because when I used to listen to my father talk about relationship with the police, because it was a real black-white issue in those days.
Well, actually, took the words out of my mouth as to from your father's era.
He didn't speak kind.
Well, how far back are we going?
Well, we're going way back.
Yeah. Before I was born.
Oh, well, hey, let me just say, when I listen to my father, I'm a 70s.
Right.
I'm a 70s teenager.
Yeah.
So I would say, as a 70s teenager, it was a good relationship with the police force, because many of them were interactive with our clubs, with our sports clubs.
Yeah.
They were, yes, there was police club, but we had policemen who coached.
Yes.
We had policemen who were in the community.
Yeah. I mean, we still have.
They were of the community.
Yeah.
And the demographic was changing from mainly white officers.
Yeah, and that's what changed it, because
to local.
And it started to
so my father's era, early 60s.
Yep.
He was the devil. Hey, when I tell you, it was a force. Yeah, I can tell you some nasty things, some nasty stories.
No, I appreciate that, but in recent times, and particularly when you look at other jurisdictions,
turn your radio down.
It's just a different perspective, right? It's just an entirely different perspective.
Yeah.
When we look at sort of like our surveys, the number one thing we get is that police sort of showing respect and treating citizens with fairness. That's like our number one thing that people speak positively about us, around that. So that doesn't come by accident.
No,
it doesn't happen by accident.
No. Good night, you on all fronts. Go ahead. Turn your radio down, people, when you call in. It helps our ears. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
Right to the point. First question. Anybody can answer this. We have had 3 town hall meetings to date, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
3 town hall meetings, yes.
Would you say that these meetings, among other things, have encouraged our community to sort of get more engaged?
Mm-hmm.
Is the problem? That's the question?
Okay.
Okay.
Have the meetings encouraged more of our community to get engaged with the issue, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you think that, or have you made plans to have any more meetings, or 3 is going to be the number and the town hall meetings you're going to stop at? That's my question.
Okay.
Are there any thought about having more meetings?
Uh-huh.
Okay, sir.
A question regarding the amnesty of knives,
Mm-hmm.
etc. One of the reasons that you have seen an uptick in offensive with knives is because knives are easily more accessible
Yeah.
than guns. They're less expensive, so that's why we have seen an increase, in my view, of knife uses.
Mm-hmm.
We also cannot really apply matters that are happening in other jurisdictions than they consider Bermuda because of our size, our smallness.
Yeah.
So we really have to, in my view, make some adjustments to sort of go right where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do not too much go along the idea of increasing our numbers. While that may be necessary, my observation and concern is about the way the numbers that we have now are being deployed. I have some concerns about that. As an example, not too long ago, the police commissioner in the first town hall meeting spoke to the fact that there were much more visibility around town because men had been shifted about, put back in uniform, so there was an increase in visibility.
Right.
And I think that perhaps needs to happen more often. Whilst I agree that numbers are important, but in my view, that's not really as significant as it's been made out to be.
Right.
And I won't go into more details about that, but I will just say that.
Okay, let me. That's about 4 questions. I want our guests to respond to, and always feel free to call back in if you want to build upon and add to it. Thank you, sir. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. The caller asked one of the questions. Have the meetings encourage our community to become more engaged in the fight against this? I guess.
Well,
With what you have observed coming out of the meetings.
Well, the answer to the question is yes. The three town hall meetings collectively translate into hundreds of people coming out to participate, to listen, to offer solutions, and really show their interest in what can be done for us as a country and to get into the bottom of this gang violence stuff that we're facing.
Right.
And one thing that I was impressed by, it was more and more men that came out. So because so often in the past when we've had meetings, it was a lot of women that coming out. But one of my challenges is that I challenge everybody to bring somebody with them. Bring somebody that's under 30 with you if you can. That way we could get that demographic in the room.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as getting the community involved, I was very impressed by the numbers that came out in all three town hall meetings. And to his second question about whether or not we're going to have more town hall
more meetings, yeah.
The initial plan was to have these three, to go and analyze the data and to see if it makes sense to have any more town hall meetings. So that's always a strong possibility of us having them. And when it comes to the amnesty, I will just hand that over to the commissioner so he can answer that.
Yeah, and Commissioner, the question around, just the accessibility to knives, being more knives, and I mean, the type of knives, those are knives that are brought in.
Yeah, no, and the knives that we're putting on the prohibited weapon list are obviously things that no individual would reasonably need to carry, right? I think I appreciate the gentleman's point that knives are less expensive perhaps than firearms.
Right.
But the reality is knives have been around us for an awful lot of time, but their criminal use and the amount of injuries that are resulting from the criminal use of knives is on the rise. Right. So, I just think there are clearly changes in attitude towards the willingness to use a knife, and it's more people, right? So the minister quoted, I think there's about 108 separate incidents since 2018. That's 108 times somebody was willing to use a knife. I don't think the issue is not about the cost of a knife. The issue is the attitudes that have changed towards violence, and that's the part that we need to get a hold of.
Well, what's your sentiments in terms of police increase versus deployment of officers? I mean, the caller has a perspective that it sounds like there's less of a need.
Deployment.
Yeah. It seems like he has a question. It's more of a thing of deploying than it is the need to increase.
Right. So I definitely appreciate the question around proper deployment. I just have a totally different view. So I've been doing this for 30 years. When I joined this organization, there were 100 more police officers, and I can't just deploy people more efficiently. So the people, for example, we've created Operational Sentinel, which is about 20 individuals. So we have 10 of them probably existed already, and we're doing that kind of work, and we pulled another 10 from around the organization. Now, there are jobs that are simply not being done. There are investigations that are simply not progressing, and at a point in time, there are going to be members of the community that say, hey, what is happening, with my crime?
Please hold, caller.
So I can absolutely assure you that 376 officers is not going to meet the needs of
Please hold, caller.
Bermuda. It's just not. We've kind of we've agreed over the years that 420 is kind of like the absolute minimum. So we just need to get up to there. And when I look at my organizational chart, there are just significant gaps. You hear me said it multiple times. If I had $1 for every time the minister asks me, when am I going to get my community officers, I'd be a very rich individual. I have prioritized responding to emergencies over some of those community efforts. Not that we don't do any community, but I want to see a team of like 15, 20 people that are just part of our parish constables, our dedicated community response that aren't abstracted because, there's an increase in crime or not. And I can't do that with 376 people.
What role does reserve
there are about 25 reserves, at this point in time. And, they are absolutely critical to our organization.
Right.
We sometimes struggle to staff what we call a watch, right? So there's 2 to 3 double crewed cars, so 6 officers, in East, West, and Central. And sometimes we struggle to have that many working in each parish, and the reserves absolutely help to augment that. Like during COVID, you saw the reserves were embodied. We just absolutely needed them in order to have a proper response during the COVID, and they're a vital part of what we need, of what we do.
Great. Caller, go ahead. Thanks for being patient.
Okay. Yes, good evening, panel.
Good evening.
I want a solution, right, to our problem. And as long as we have, what we need is a non-approach discussion, right? But they're talking. We've been talking for decades. This has been happening for decades. And we're back in these...
Qualify a non-approach discussion.
Well,
I don't understand what that means.
When I say that is we have to approach with no type of approach it better. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's what we're attempting to bring resolution. We're looking to approach it better.
But we are attempting. We've been doing this for years, for decades, and we're back at the chambers.
I get you. I get your perspective. I don't agree, but go ahead.
Yeah, until we have a no tolerance government.
Okay.
First of all, or no tolerance people to make the changes, then we can remain like we are. There's not going to get no better.
I believe that we're at a point of no tolerance right now. We're at a point of no acceptance of it, really.
But what are they doing?
Well, I think what we're doing
nothing's come of it.
Well, let's see, because the minister just made clear about some of the things shared by the public. So their solutions that will be factored into. Minister, say it again. There's something that on Friday.
Over the last
hold on.
I want to get off.
All right. Thanks a lot, caller.
Yep. Okay.
If I could clear it out for the caller, what we have done over the last month is to have the 3 town hall meetings.
Right.
Out of the 3 town hall meetings, we have collated a lot of the information that has been gotten from the public. This Friday, we're going to have in the House of Assembly, I will be producing a ministerial statement that's going to talk about a lot of the ideas and comments that came from the public. And as we finish collating, in the future, we'll decide, if we're going to have another town hall meeting, but we will definitely let the public know what information came up out of it. And just for clarity, when he says he wants a no-tolerance government, we are looking at amending legislation, changing legislation. We are making if somebody goes to court and they get a sentence, so we're making sentences harsher, longer. We are in the process of hiring more police officers where we can. We have the gang violence team that's in the schools. We have all those kind of things. We have a program called the IM program that our gang violence team is definitely presenting in our primary and middle schools. We also have a program called the GREAT program.
Yeah.
So what I would like to encourage the caller to do and others, that in order for us to become no tolerance, it starts individually. So I challenge everybody to get out and do their part. You know what I'm saying? If you see something, say something. When we as a community get up and stand up and say, if you see something, say something, that shows the whole community that we are not going to tolerate this behavior. If we wait for the police to fix it, or we wait for government to fix it, those two together without the community, we will not be able to fix it.
And let me just clarify, if you see something, say something, don't make you a snitch. It makes you a community collaborator to the solutions. Citizen. Yeah, you're a responsible citizen, exactly. Good night, caller. Thanks for being patient. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Lewis, Police Commissioner and Minister Weeks. A little solution to the dark visors. I heard the minister say that something is in the pipeline. I'd just like to give you a little feedback. I'm in my late 60s, and I came up in a time that if you wore, at least for a black man, if he wore dark glasses, he was considered a person who smoked. So I wear glasses, but I had never wore dark glasses, not even the glasses attended. That's what helped me get into the corporate world, because I wanted people, especially my employers, to see my eyes at all times. I say that to say this. I have a helmet, but I have a half dark visor and a curved visor that comes over that. Because when you're riding with extreme sun, you need something to shade your eyes. And since I can't wear shades because I wear glasses, and since I don't wear glasses that darken, I have what you call a half visor that's dark, and for when it's extremely windy and rainy, I pull my curved visor down over that. So I'm full in agreement with banning the full dark visors, but I think they should leave the half visors, because it will serve many, many people, especially we guys who wear glasses and need something to shade our eyes. So I hope the solution that Minister Weeks has doesn't include banning the half-wiser. Because half-wiser, anybody can see most of your face. If you look up from your nose down, you can see all of that. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, caller. Any response to some of that?
Well, actually, Lou, if I may.
Please hold, caller.
We're looking at options when it comes to the dark visors.
Got you.
And unfortunately, or not, one thing is certain, that some people are going to have to be made uncomfortable for a time.
Yeah.
We have to make the country uncomfortable in order for us to get to where we are. Because we know that there are families that know what their sons and daughters are doing. Mm-hmm. There are cousins and boyfriends and the like and girlfriends that know what their family members are doing. So there are some things that this government's going to do and is doing that's going to make some people uncomfortable for a while.
Yeah. You're not going to go all Trump and have the regiment on the... go ahead, caller.
Yes, good evening. Lively discussion, you gentlemen.
Good evening.
Personally, I've been analyzing, listening to other discussions, both in the media and, of course, in here. One area that haven't heard literally almost nothing on, of course, and what's very important, a lot of these youngsters basically in a labor situation. What concerns me is the fact is and the commissioner, of course, you Mr. can speak to this here, is this is organized. With there's crime gangs and things, and there are leaders, cells, obviously all over the island, part of networking. And of course, this goes international. There are some cartel countries pushing out drugs and all kinds of things like this. But speaking strictly to Bermuda,
right,
there's obviously older people in different areas around that manage these youngsters are basically like soldiers. And they're picking them up or crossing, whatever the case may be. So I'd like to speak to what's your thoughts on that this is organized crime.
Okay.
And the answers are very, very the victims of it.
I appreciate that question.
So I agree that there's definitely a level of organization to gang lifestyles, and that there is a hierarchy. I don't think there's quite as strong as an international connection, other than when we're talking about importing drugs. That's got to come from overseas. We don't produce cocaine in Bermuda, so that's got to come from overseas, from other criminal networks. But those organizations and connections are probably just more around the trafficking rather than the violence that we see locally. That's usually generated around respect, revenge, and revenue, the three R's for gangs, rather than external influences that are playing out in the violence. And it's respect and revenge that are the primaries, with probably revenue being the third sort of motivator around that. And it really is people beefing, people having conflict, than it is, let's say, the drug trade. And from an intelligence perspective, we are very keen on targeting the highest harm causers, right? Okay. So we put energies to people that you might call them like shot callers. There is we mentioned 200, but out of that 200, there's a much smaller group of individuals that are predisposed to taking up firearms, that are actually planning these kinds of things, and we concentrate our efforts around those individuals.
Go ahead, caller.
Good evening, Dr. Lou. Good evening to your guest.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Years ago, I told...
What's your question? You can have a question for us, right?
I've got a short statement.
Okay.
My statement is that all this talk is a deliberate waste of time.
Okay.
Not making no progress is nothing is happening.
All right.
I said it before. The answers are in the Pitt report and the Truman report. The answers are there.
Okay.
What we need to do is to take this island to independence as a republic, and bring in the death penalty. That's the only thing that can solve these gangs is the death penalty. All this talk, everything else they're saying, is not going to work. Fail, fail, fail. It's not going to work.
Let me have both the minister and the police commissioner respond to your argument for the death penalty, sir. Thanks a lot.
So, I mean, there's just overwhelming research that the death penalty does not produce the outcomes that this gentleman thinks it will produce. That's why the majority of the Western world has moved away from that. So there's all kinds of studies that have been done, particularly in the U.S., that show that is not the deterrent that it is. And the reality is, many of these young people, when they're doing this activity, are not even remotely thinking about the consequences.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that perspective.
I think the U.S. is a bad example, really. but I hear what you're saying. Depending on what state you're looking at when you're talking death penalty in the United States.
It's not a deterrent.
Yeah.
It's just not a deterrent. That's my point that I'm trying to make. And there's just overwhelming research around that particular case. So I'm not an advocate for that.
I got you.
That kind of response at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm glad the commissioner said that because I am not a proponent of the death penalty either. I remember a time back when we talked about increasing sentences,
right,
for life and murder. So what we now have, we have almost half our population up at Westgate that are in jail for life.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to say, like the commissioner has said, that when these youngsters are perpetrating these crimes, they are not thinking about the consequences.
Yeah.
So I'm adverse to the idea that if we have the death penalty, crimes can go on.
Yeah, there's enough research that supports your position. Like I said, U.S. is a bad example to me. The United States is probably the worst examples in the so-called, well, there's no free will. I can't even say it's a civilized. Yeah. But it's much food for thought because, again, when we think in terms of, I place it in this context, Bermuda, 11 gangs, 200.
Yep.
Right? 200. That 11 gangs, 200 integrated with 9 parishes, a 60,000 population. Of that 60,000, 50,000 Bermudian people. I mean, hypothetically, right? Now, there's the interrelatedness of us. And so, you take that life, that took a life, you multiply that with his children, his mama, his auntie, his uncle, your neighbor. So it makes us think of it in a different context.
Yep, no, absolutely.
Now, I throw this little caveat in there in language. Premier used the term terrorism, terrorists. It conjures up a different spirit in the human psyche when you use that, given what we're fed daily about terrorism. Now, certainly we feel terrorized every time we had a shooting. But we elevate it to the level of terrorist acts. And it multiplies, it brings in the sentiments that the caller addresses. And by the way, independence is not going to be that cure. I'm just going to make that clear. Good night, caller. Go ahead. You and all friends.
All right. Good night.
Good night, caller.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes. Thanks for the show this evening.
Thank you.
So, now I'm going to ask regarding, these 11 games. I want to ask questions regarding these 11 games.
Give us 2 questions.
Well, I have perhaps more than 2, but...
Well, I need 1, 2, because the lines are lighting up, so I'm trying to get as many of the callers in. Give us 2.
Okay, well, 2 is not going to be a whole lot of substance, I don't think, but let me say 11. Let me say, okay, so one question would be,
Are these 11 named gangs? And
yes,
to
they are.
provide the name, and so if you can provide those names, and where are these the commissioners, these commissioners, but where is the locale of these 11? If you got a breakdown as to the locale of these gangs and those names, if you're willing to put those names out in the community. Thank you for the show.
Thank you, sir. You want to do that, Commissioner?
Well, I mean, the names are well known in the community, so I'm not.
They are, and they're not.
I'm not sure there's much harm in
yeah, they are. They are, and when I say they are and they're not,
to some elements of the community.
Yeah, some elements of the community. But I'll put it out there like this here, Commissioner, because you're right. It's out there. It's been, and I go back even to social media. It's out there. Mm-hmm. And as it is out there, we have all grounds and rights to put the names out there. And as we put the names out there, now we bring association to locality, parishes. Mm-hmm. And if you're really paying attention, you can put some other names to those. That's just a fact of Bermuda.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? That's just a fact. So I just want to put that there clearly to people. But go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, some of the gangs are going to be East Side Crew, 297, Parkside, Mount Hill, ORC, Ord Road Crew, Cedar Hill, D-Team, 110, EBK, MOB. That's
that's and all of those names
are out there.
Mm-hmm. And any of us who are attuned to this
will know those names.
Yes. So there's nothing that you have disclosed that is a secret or great revelation. Only to those persons who have been asleep, because it doesn't bother them. Mm-hmm. And we have segments of that community where it doesn't bother them.
Not my neighborhood.
Not in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right? Although, like we know, this impacts all of Bermuda. There you go. Yeah. Good night, you on all fronts.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Minister Reach, Commissioner. Just real quick, for Mr. Weeks, I would like to know, I heard you talking about legislation, and when are we expecting to see the legislation at work? And for the Commissioner, I heard you emphasizing on how this type of behavior could come down to the children as far as 8, 9, 10 years old. And I sort of got a bit upset by that. I really don't want to see our children being used as a pawn towards the parents, in the sense of trying to use them as a way of making the parents think different about their children. And of course, Mr. Lou spoke well on the sense that it's not just the gangs, whatever. The social media plays a great role in that as well, and in the subliminal effect in which that parents, I would say children would get from just even playing the PlayStation and looking at the news and finding out things like that. And there's another thing, how many of in the newspaper there are 175 cases of misconduct coming from your department. How many of those cases are still in need of being dealt with? And of course, it always starts from the top down. If you want to set a good example, it would start from basically the people who is actually supposed to be in the representation of showing that good representation, of showing that good example. And, if that affects your number as well, and how many officers that you may be short of, how many of those officers are not on duty because of whatever incidents that they may be involved in. I listen up there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, caller. Got a response to that?
Okay, I'll definitely speak about the young children. I mean, I appreciate that some of these changes happen in young children's lives, and we just need to be alive to that. So this evening, I've sort of rhetorically asked the question about what happens in the life of an 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old that they suddenly end up in those kinds of spaces, and what can we do as a community to divert or stop that from from happening. And tonight we've also heard about the powerful influence that social media can have on young children, which can be just as powerful as some of the negative aspects of social media, that can be just as powerful as some of the positive influences. You mentioned it's reported, I think it's been a couple of years now, that 175 cases of, and I think let's call it conduct cases. The overwhelming vast majority of those cases that were mentioned were things like incivility. Many of those, if I just don't have the number on the top of off the top of my head, but many of those are going to be resolved. And one of the things that you can rest comfortably knowing about the Bermuda Police Service is that we have a very robust professional standards department, and we're also transparent and accountable when sort of bad things happen and there's consequences and people are I don't use the word necessarily brought to justice, but the discipline aspect of the service is seen to be function, and you're going to continue to see that as we just have low tolerances for officers that aren't going to do that or don't do the things that they're supposed to do, don't enact in ways that are in line with our professional standards, and we want to be transparent with the community around what that happens, which is a little bit different from many of the other organizations. Most other organizations don't really publish their dirty laundry or talk about, hey, this bad thing happened. These were the consequences of that, following an investigation. But we do, given the nature of our role in the community.
I want to ask this question of you, Minister. Looking at and recognizing the demographic that we're talking about in terms of young black males especially, and the evolution of it in terms of aging. I mean, you guys age out. Still, it doesn't settle or deal with the plight that black males find themselves in Bermuda. Is it, when we look at it from the perspective of where black males find themselves economically, socially, on this island, is there a need for a reason for an act that speaks to black boys and men, black males in Bermuda? And I'm placing this in the context, this came out of the Obama era, because it was framed but not acted upon so much in the United States. But it brought attention to, of course, the circumstances and the plight that repeatedly black males find themselves in because of certain social, societal constructs. We know economically the discriminations and things like that. In Bermuda, we face the same things. There's no doubt about it. We know even educationally that while we may go to the same schools and so forth, and we expect and think that, okay, things are great, they should do well, they don't. And they don't because, and I'm an educator, and I can tell you, today's doesn't speak to many of our young people. Technically, it doesn't. And we're, as you see, talking transformation, reform, and all of that. Hopefully we get there, that it does address that. Is there need and time to think in terms of, just as you have acts that speaks to women's rights, just as you have acts that speaks to children's rights, a marginalized, disenfranchised group that we have on this island that is the subject of the greatest social dysfunction that we are facing right now, does it warrant such an act?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a very interesting question and comment, because our young black man is the demographic that we're sitting there talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the demographic that we talk about out in our communities. We're looking at training, we're looking at education, We're looking at retraining. As you know, being in the education system, we are looking to reform education. Largely because of the plight of the young black man, that we have decided to reform the education system. Now, when it comes to whether or not an act should be passed specifically for our black man, I find it interesting. I wouldn't rule that out, but I think we have to focus on that demographic of our population and don't be afraid to say that it's our young black man that is at risk.
Yeah.
And whatever is necessary in order for us to address that issue, I'm all for. And while I'm talking, the last caller talked about legislation. There's a lot of legislation and amendments that's going to be coming in the next few months.
Okay.
To address things like devices, to address crimes and penalties for crimes and the like.
Right.
So we will see a change in legislation as it comes. But when it comes to addressing the young black male, I am all for doing whatever that is necessary for us to change the mindset and the trajectory of a lot of our youngsters.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I was going to say that the National Violence Reduction Strategy recognizes some historical systemic issues as, something that needs to be addressed as we continue to move forward. So there's just real recognition of those issues as we address this problem, and I think some of the solutions are rooted in that perspective.
Commissioner, you shared the facts in terms of some stats that that Bermuda is experiencing a crime reduction.
In all crimes.
In all crimes,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that was important to put out there. As we are experiencing a crime reduction in all crimes, when I see, and we alluded to it earlier, the home invasion, I got to speak to that one.
Yes.
Yep.
Because these things have patterns to it, to me. When I see a crime like that, and Christmas is upon us, and usually you see the smash and grab that we saw. We see some of these things during this time of the year, getting close to Christmas. But the home invasion is interesting to me because that usually follows a pattern. I see it and I watch it being played out in the UK, where, of course, it's usually the celebrity footballer's home who experiences a home invasion, right? We don't have many of those.
I was just about
we
to
don't
say
have,
that it is not.
We don't have many. It's not a common thing.
Yeah.
However, it takes one.
I'm not entirely convinced that it takes one. For a number of years, that kind of crime has been on the decline. And I think, yes, every now and again, you're going to see individuals that may choose to do that. I think we're actually quite good at catching and convicting those individuals around that kind of thing. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but we're there. And I'm hopeful that it isn't, one is not indicative. You referred to some recent smash and grabs. Definitely that's concerning because these are not things that are typical in Bermuda, and they're not typical for reasons. I don't know what all those reasons are.
Well, the knife crimes that we experience right now wasn't typical for Bermuda.
No, I appreciate that. But there's nothing that's going to suggest that we're going to see a trend in that, because that would be a reversal of trends that have been happening for quite a long time. So violent, acquisitive crime is not a common issue in Bermuda, and long may it continue to be that way.
I got you.
But obviously, if it becomes more of a thing, we're going to put more energies and effort into catching and convicting those individuals who are involved in that. And when we do see it, because you'll see it, for example, you could probably recall a series of like tourists being robbed, and it does comes in onesies, 4 or 5, and it tends to be the same individuals. Very often they may be drug addicted. And it's fueling that immediate sense of gratification around vulnerable populations. But today, I just don't think we're at a space where we need to be concerned about trends. I think these are isolated incidents today that I'm very confident we're going to get on top of.
Okay, I can appreciate that, respect that. Yeah.
He will get his man.
And I won't feed it. Good night, you and all friends.
Yeah, he will get his man. And I won't feed it.
Feedback. That's feedback. And like I said, turn your radio off, people. Let me just ask this question. Well, you had a question. There was a question. Of course, you get a lot of our elders who bring this up.
Right.
You know, what we need to do is bring the king back.
Right.
We need to go Singapore. We got to go the Singapore way. Because the Singapore way don't play. Right? You can have a blunt and you're going to get a good,
Eating
now, so I'm just saying, there's been that type of plea.
Yeah. So I mean, that for me, there's some human rights implications, issues around there. There's questions that are far bigger than me. I have to operate within the constraints of the law. Appreciate the debate and discourse around those kinds of things. Not sure. I think we have an ethical perspective that we're going to continue to go down this path.
Yeah, and everyone cites Singapore. But Singapore law is Singapore law.
And it's been around for a long time.
It is. Please hold, caller.
I'd like to add that
please hold, caller.
That discipline
Go ahead.
Has to start in the home, though.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the more responsibility that we put on government, the more responsibility that we put on the police,
please hold, caller.
Less responsibility that we put on the home.
Turn your radio down, please.
Discipline must start there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it starts from young.
Absolutely. That's the foundation. Go ahead, caller. Appreciate your patience. Go ahead.
I have to be very patient with you, Brother Lee. I'm like, this guy's got a talk show and don't answer the phone. You're like, come on.
I have people right here in front of me, and they'll tell you the lines are blinking, and I go any, meeny, money, mo.
Like you have somebody on hold, and then you go off yippity yip yip.
That's how we do it, darling. That's how we do it. But it's your turn. Go ahead.
I think you need an assistant commissioner. Good evening. I haven't had the pleasure of interviewing you yet, ever. But
and I give you the floor.
From what I see, you're making frontline news, which appears to be great. I'd like to know personally, not as a journalist, how you deem or feel about two brutal gun murders back to back, just a block and a half from the police station. Generally, right, without whatever. And Minister, haven't seen you in a long time. One of my pet peeves whenever I hear you in the news is, and I take the point that it's a community problem generally in resolving some issues, but, I think that which we call a ruse by any other name is still going to be the same way, and you have a tendency to say it's a community problem, and I'm just going to speak figuratively. Whenever there's a brutal gun murder of any person anywhere around this island, right, nobody's betting eyelashes in fairyland or down Pakistan or Rendezvous in those Kildare areas that's whatever. Why do you not call it what it is? It's a black community problem, generally. I mean, we've had a few white people gunned down. I think one case North Shore years ago was mistaken identity. But, what is up with the reference? Because if we can't call it what it is, this is no disrespect, again, figuratively. This is not Manuel Bob's children. This is not, Mr. Filipino people, right? This is Shanae and Bebe's children.
There you go. It's the black community. That's right.
Yeah, you said we know family. That family, Mr. Weeks said, has had a few in his constituency. How long are we going to play that word again?
And I defer to Bermuda Real because I appreciate our sister because she keeps it real. And keeping it real as you have, Ciola, your argument is definitely that we need to, and you're right. I mean, I call it out. We're talking about our young black men. young black boys, 2 men.
Who didn't come from Maria and Jose.
No. And I was sharing earlier.
Point no, you said you're gonna give me the floor.
Not the whole floor. I don't want you to wipe up the entire floor, darling.
That's because my short-term memory is real short these days. Okay.
Go ahead, honey.
These guys are not homeless, right? I would venture I would venture to say they all smell Donny fresh. I venture to say they're not even doing the laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Dressed very nice. You know, I'm hearing news reports, a routine stop this little young guy. I don't know if it's been charged because of some computer things. Months ago during the summer, a routine traffic check on St. George's someday. In the afternoon, 23, has got drugs, him got gun, money or whatever. They go search his apartment, which most likely is in Mama's house, and then find a gun and ammunition in a pouch under his mattress. 2 houses living in.
Yep. Mama's house.
Because I come from it now. You think I could have that on a mattress in my mama's house? No, I know times have changed. The other question is, we've had mothers against murder, this, that. Where did that at?
Well, the minister did say, Ciola, that especially at these last, the series of town hall meetings, there's been a strong presence of men in audience.
Okay,
and
I'll take that point. I didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
Right, but I know when my son was in Cedar Bridge, and him daddy handled all the riffraff madness that went on. And that man, I was divorced, and we did it separately, would say to me after every meeting, where was the only man in the meeting? Where these boys' fathers at?
Well, let me allow.
Okay, I'll get off the line, but I would like to hear from you, Mr. Weeks, why you just don't come call it a black community problem.
There you
I'll
go.
wait for that. If you could tell me that now, because I don't see you. Now, you know, if I saw you, I'll be all up in your ears, so let's have it.
There you go. And that is Bermuda Real.
Bermuda Real, Ms. Wilson, is always a pleasure hearing from you. And when we bump up into each other, yes, we normally have a great discourse. Nothing that you've said is untrue. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But when I say this community problem, you have to understand that I say it's not just a police problem. It's not just a government problem, but the community is also involved. And yes, it's a black problem. It's a black problem. We have to deal with what we have to deal with in our communities. And I think it's clear that it's in our hoods. And when I do talk about the community that must work with the police and work with the government, yes, it is a black problem. If I talk about St. Monica's, if I talk about Frizzle's Hill, I talk about Parsons Road, you know, when I'm talking to Bermudians, right, that automatically tells you that I'm talking about there's people in the hood. So if I have to be clearer and talking about a black problem, I have no problem with it. But I take your points, Ms. Wilson, and I look forward to seeing you again. Every time I hear you, it brings a smile to my face, but I know you keep it real.
She keeps it real, Bermuda Real. You know, Franz, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I don't agree with a lot of the things the previous caller said. I know the young lady very well. I know Minister Weeks well also. And I appreciate the fact that it's not an easy job. And it's not an easy task. Also, the Commissioner of Police, it's not an easy task. One day on a Saturday morning, I bumped into Minister Weeks, and he had been up all night, people of Bermuda. An incident happened overnight. This gentleman was tired. You know what he told me? He was going home to get some rest because he had another commitment, 10 o'clock, and then another commitment at 2 o'clock. And I'm only pointing that out to show the people of Bermuda that, and I'm sure the commissioner also, it has the same type of commitment. It's not easy. And yes, they are there in the public eye and they be criticized on certain things. But
something happened and somebody had to call you out of your bed at 3 in the morning, people of Bermuda, a lot of you couldn't do it. And I'm just pointing out that not only as a minister, also as a police commissioner, it's not an easy job. And I wish if you guys had success as a minister and the commissioner, that means Bermuda has success.
Appreciate that,
I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best. Minister Reese, you probably know who he is.
I'm trying to pick up your voice.
Yeah, we were in the Army together. We were both corporals. Your team and my team. It always goes on to football. I don't want to go in that direction.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Yeah, how are you, sir?
Okay,
how are you?
all right. Thanks for that call.
I appreciate the fact of what you guys are trying to do. And I just wish you all the best.
Thanks for that call.
Your success, Commissioner of Police and Minister, is Bermuda's success.
Bottom line.
And I'll just leave it right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind
Yeah,
words.
thank you very much for those comments.
I believe, what was it? I think it was in the last town hall. One of the members of the audience. We needed the unity in the community theme.
Mr.
Gene Dean.
Yes.
Yeah, Eugene Dean, and that's a frequent theme that Eugene has. It requires all of us, and this isn't no utopia type of thing. It warrants exactly that. It goes forward with what you shared, Commissioner, that the police cannot do it all. Nor can the Minister of National Security and your team can't do it all. It's a collaborative thing that we, if you see it, what'd you say?
You see something.
You see something, you say something.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where we are at. We're at that right now.
Yeah.
If we're going to save ourselves.
Yeah, because I think it's important, that when we get that call, all hours of the night, myself or the commissioner, that another life has been lost, we have to get up and not only make our way to the hospital, we have to make our way to their families, and that's in our communities, what I mean? That reality is in our community. So I can't stress enough that if you see something, say something. Stand up, speak up.
All the time.
All the time.
And caller, you're going to speak up and stand up because you're going to be the last caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to keep it real too.
I appreciate it.
I have two questions, and that police officer, that sergeant that got caught for the gun.
Go ahead,
Mr. I want to know what's happening there. And him and his girlfriend got caught up in the air. She was in the airport. And what happens if some of the guns has a murder on it? Will he be getting life in jail? Are we listening?
There you go. That is the case that's out there. Go ahead.
Yep. So, at the end of the day, that case is progressing to court. Individuals are charged, and it's just a question of a court trial.
Right.
Yeah, just like anybody else.
So, they're going through the judicial process like everyone else.
Yep.
I know, folk. There's always suspicion when a police officer is of a crime. The people are looking. Well, will justice be served this person? Well, like you said.
I mean, when the people that are supposed to protect the community do things that are wrong, that's a really bad thing, right? And in the organization, we have a strong stance for that kind of stuff,
right?
So in terms of investigations, in terms of the prosecutions, we're in terms of our professional standards, we have a very high professional standards, and you use unfortunately and fortunately, you see some of that play out. In the media. Fortunately, from a transparency kind of perspective, and that we do have these standards, and we do take these things serious, and unfortunately, because it should just never happen.
Gotcha. Well, look, this has been very interactive, engaging. I appreciate the both of you, taking the time to come in what has been a busy week for you thus far. The week isn't over. And there's more to come. And certainly, you're more than welcome. Finally got you, Minister.
Well, now that I've been here, I will definitely be back.
Yeah, we got to work it again. And I think it's important that, after the town hall, and of course the newspaper, either you're at the town hall or you're reading. But when you come on all fronts, you're fighting on all fronts.
Well, what I'll do, Dr. Lou, is make sure that once we collate everything, I'll be back to update.
I appreciate that very much. And I think it's important that we keep this spirited dialogue with people. I disagree with people when they say that there's too much talk. And I said, if we're not talking at people, then we're doing something else that's probably doing harm. And I didn't speak about the harm index, but the harm index is certainly equates with not having your voice in the solutions that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah, and I'd like to close by saying thank you for having us. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank my gang violence reduction team. They are our front line. They're in these schools, on the streets, and thank the police. Thank everyone that's taking part in our collective struggle to make our island safer.
Yeah, and you too, I just really want to say thank you very much for having me, the opportunity to share some information. And again, the police are here. If you see something, say something, because that's how crimes are ultimately solved. They're community members that come forward to give us information about what has happened, and then courageous people who go to court and give evidence, and we have the convictions that we have.
There you have it, people, on all fronts. Like I said, we fight on all fronts. Keep the peace.